And now we move on to our main stories, and we're starting in Kumasi, where after about 3 weeks of closure prompted by violent protests, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is set to reopen on Friday, barring any last-minute hitches. The reopening has been made possible by the inauguration of the reconstituted governing council following disagreements over the presence of some members of the previous council. Eventually, though, the council was inaugurated with the Chancellor, the Santihini Otumfuose Tutu, swearing in only the new members proposed by government at the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. The Santihini expressed his displeasure with the circumstances that led to the disturbances.
Indeed, when I received the petition on the mixed gender policy, I went over the minutes of the University Council and confirmed for myself that this was a matter on which the council had taken a decision at one of its meetings early in the year, with the full participation of representatives of the Alumni Students Representative Council, National Council for Tertiary Education, Convocation, and all the institutional representations. It raises serious questions about how a decision taken by all these representatives could still ignite such fury from a section of the alumni and a section of the students with the calamitous consequences we now face. The fact that this has happened and led to the worst incident in the life of the university under my chancellorship is a pain I do not bear lightly. So I'm determined that the return to normalcy should not mean premature closure, but the commencement of a cleaning process for the sake of the future. We should neither paper over any cracks nor sweep any dirt under the carpet. Accordingly, a full and transparent inquiry must be set up into all the circumstances leading to the day of horrors. As Chancellor of this university, and in line with the understanding by which government mandated me to manage this process, I should, with appropriate consultation, appoint a 5-man committee to be headed by a judge to probe both the remote and immediate causes of the disturbances and the lessons to be derived therefrom.
The Santihini also called for cordial relationship between management and students of KNUST.
A plethora of allegations have been aired in various outlets about the administration, its procedures, and the conduct of some of its most senior officers, including the Vice Chancellor, Professor Obiri Danso. The role of the alumni is very much to the fore, and we clearly need to interrogate the extent to which they can influence the administration of the institution. But while the probe is essential, we should be clear also that we are not called upon to reinvent the wheel. The university cannot turn away from established good practice nor compromise on the integrity of its management. Nothing should be done to hamstring the council from discharging their duty to develop the policies for the running of the university in accordance with its statutes, nor encourage students to feel they have the right to defy authority or cherry-pick rules they choose to obey. Yes. A university is nothing if not a hotbed of free expression, and the penchant for rigorous debate must be one of the intrinsic values we inculcate in our students. But defiance and disorder cannot and can never be part of those values, and it should be abundantly clear that neither students nor alumni nor any group within the university shall be allowed to dictate or conduct itself in a manner that undermines the integrity of management. Academic freedom is one of the pillars upon which the true democracy thrives. It is as critical as the freedom of the press and the rule of law. And just as we want our course to function with integrity, so we should protect the integrity of the system of higher education within our democratic environment. While we await the probe, which will throw the light on what may have gone wrong in the immediate past, I hope the Constituted Council and management will work together to ensure the smooth and swift return to normalcy with all deliberate speed.
Education Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh wants management of the school to review its dealings with students.
Members of council to familiarize themselves with ongoing issues in the sector to enable them to communicate effectively to all relevant stakeholders. I also implore your support in addressing all of the pertinent and occurring issues that always confront us in the sector. Incoming council chair and members, You are no doubt fully aware of the issues that led to the closing down of UST, KNUST, a few weeks ago. The constitution of this council, therefore, comes at a very sensitive point and requires clear leadership and direction from you as a matter of urgency to get academic work back on track. Specifically, you are expected to use your leadership skills to work closely with the university management on reopening the university as soon as possible. This is important to ensure that academic work is restored to normalcy and also to preserve the image of the university as a credible institution of higher learning. Beyond this, it is the view of government that the relationship between the university authorities and the student body has broken down. The students need to have confidence that their views are respected and taken on board in decisions affecting them. On the other hand, the SRC must own up to and be prepared for the consequences of their actions because of the level of distraction. Individually, all found culpable must face the rigors of the law.
The university authorities, on their part, say they are happy the impasse is over. Here is the University Relations Officer Kwame Yeboah.
I'm sure you witnessed what happened. Good sense has prevailed, and we are very happy that it has come this way. We thank the government of Ghana for listening to all the stakeholders, and also thank the Chancellor also for taking the steps to ensure that we have what we had this afternoon. In all, I'll say we are very happy as an institution. Academic work is going to begin. The students are supposed to return on Friday for academic work to begin on Monday. So in all, I think it's a very good event. It's welcoming.
The Tertiary Education Workers Union TEWU also says they are calling off their intended strike following the resolution of the issue.
To tell them that everything has come to an end, as a result of that, they should start work.
Would you say your expectations have been achieved?
Yes, our expectations have been achieved, but one thing that we want to indicate that this was not a fight, this was not a dispute, this was an issue that was being resolved and there has been a remedy to resolve it. So there is no win-win or win and lose. It's a win-win and it's a lose-lose. If it's a win for everybody. If it is lose, it's a lose for everybody, because it's a state property that all of us were trying to, protect, which by the grace of Almighty God, with the assistance of the President, everybody in Ghana here, we have all protected that situation. So we thank Almighty God. We think that should be the way.
Now the news, the Minister for Special Development Initiatives, Madam Mavis Hawa Kumsing, has described as untrue claims the government has not fulfilled its promise to allocate $1 million to each constituency for development. Madam Kumsing says, on the contrary, a lot of projects being funded with the money are ongoing in various districts, with some even near completion. She made these remarks when she took her turn at the Meet the Press series on Tuesday. Efwa Evans-Chinwe reports.
Under the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program, each of the 275 constituencies has been allocated the cedi equivalent of $1 million this year to be invested in infrastructure development. Madam Hawa Kumsing said the ministry has spent 927 million Ghana cedis out of the 1 billion cedis allocated to the ministry. She further stated the money is being used for the 1,000 metric tons prefabricated warehouses under the One District, One Warehouse policy, 10-seater water closet institutional toilet with mechanized boreholes to address sanitation issues, and a community-based solar-powered water systems in an ambulance per constituency. The ambulances she was hopeful would be purchased between May and June next year for every constituency, as the ministry had started with the procurement process.
The tender documents are out. We've gone through the PPA. The tender documents are out for the suppliers to buy, whilst we continue with the process. And from there, it will go to various stages before it is finally awarded to the supplier. It was our intention to even have the ambulance by close of year. But looking at the procurement process, I believe maybe by first week in December, the award will be given. And then somewhere May, June next year, the ambulances will be in this country. And that is the assurance I'm giving you. Our funds are not statutory. So when the budget expires, it expires with the money. I mean with the 1 million per the constituency. Unlike common fund and other funds. But when there are projects, ongoing projects, the money will be refinanced to pay the contractors. But if it is not used in anything, the finance minister cannot release that money. Even Parliament will not allow it.
She believes that by the close of the year, many of the projects would have been completed based on the assurances from the contractors and handed over to the Coastal Development Authority to manage.
Last year, we went around the constituencies to do needs assessments. And as we speak, we have all the needs of most or all the 275 constituencies. The status of the government's priority projects. The following projects are government priority projects and IPEP, which are currently ongoing across the country. 1,000 community-based water system, 1,000 10-seater water closet institutional facility, 1,000 metro ton warehouses, 570 small dams, and 1 ambulance per constituency. In the northern region, we have 124 water closet institutional toilets. That comes with mechanized borehole. We also have community-based water system, also 124. 1,000 metric tons prefabricated warehouses. We have 7 of them in the northern region. So in all, in the Upper East region, we have 335 projects.
In all, over 2,000 projects are being undertaken by the ministry in the northern, Upper West, Upper East, and the Middle Belt.
The minority in Parliament has questioned government's commitment in reducing the public debt stock, which it says could go up by a further 16 billion Ghana cedis by the end of 2019. The increase, they say, should bring the total public debt stock to 186 billion Ghana cedis by the end of next year. Speaking at a pre-budget roundtable organized by the minority, ranking member on Parliament's Finance Committee, Cassiel Atufosing, says government continues to fund recurrent expenditure at the expense of capital goods. He is the then flag bearer of the NPP, Nana Akufo-Addo, and his running mate deceived Ghanaians on reduced borrowing.
Available figures shows that in the 22 months that he has been the President of the Republic, our total public debt has risen from 122.3 billion Ghana cedis in January 2017 to 159.4 billion at the end of July 2018. And these are numbers coming from the Bank of Ghana. We projected the additional borrowing will take our debt to about 170 billion Ghana cedis by close of the year. This will represent an increase of nearly 50 billion Ghana cedis in 2 short years. 2 short years, 50 billion. We wish to stress that the 50 billion is not what has been borrowed, but obviously it is what would have been added to the public debt by close of the year 2018. Government-owned bond issuance calendar shows that between 2017 and 2018, a staggering 117.1 billion Ghana cedis would have been borrowed from domestic bonds issuance alone. Part of this amount has been used to roll over maturing debt, with the rest representing fresh debt that was used to finance the budget. Given its inability to raise domestic revenue to fund its campaign promises, we are estimating that the government appetite for borrowing will result in additional about 16 billion Ghana cedis debt for the coming year 2019. And so we expect that in the year 2019, they will add about 16 billion to our debt. This will take our total public debt to about 186 billion by close of year 2019. The Akufo-Addo government appears to have pumped a large chunk of its money into consumption, as there is virtually no major capital investment to show for this level of borrowing. Almost all capital projects that was ongoing are either projects for which money was sourced by the former president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, of which we have started, or it was started under him. The foregoing shows clearly that the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and his vice president misled Ghanaians with their claim on borrowings whilst in opposition. Instead, they have resorted to the very thing that they condemned just 2 years ago. Where is the president's ability to develop Ghana without taxation?
Some initial works have commenced on the footbridges along the Medina-Adenta Highway, which was the scene of a major riot last week over the frequent knockdowns of pedestrians. Government, after the residents' protest, promised work will begin this week. JoyNews' Gifty Ando-Apia reports residents, after the long, costly wait, are beginning to express optimism the footbridges will soon become available for use.
This, which looks like a cornerstone with the inscription GHA MP 1812, is the evidence that the contractors have been here, as the residents tell me.
Yes, I say, I'm say cars be pack V8 no na dey pack big contractors for the bar say ano ombe and for the ni ada dey mo do almost say about next week going next week almost started I am I was say.
Okay, so he's basically saying that yesterday they saw a lot of vehicles parked here and they saw people who looked like contractors who came here and told them that by next week they're going to start the work here. Omone mokasa enra.
Omo no bi ankasa wa say na je say no omo hwehwe biji no se ne omo beye
anu ra omo ba bebre ya ho se ministers no bi suka ho omo kita sa ka no boy didi mu se VH ho VW free ha sa akodu ha ti omo ni nyina mo si fo ana mo twa camera bi no mo kita tape measure ana mo hwehwe ma ho se omo di cement ni bibi kakra maki bibi wo ho be 30-40 minutes ni nyina omo ye wie na masako other side asako measure nyama bebri wo ho ti di omo be ye no dade ye ho se nyami ensisa ma dwi dia bibia be baso
ne no mo ne mo kasae
no da ye kasae
ne no mo ka kire mo
mo ka kire se ade no asie no enye obi ade be ye accident na e ba be no da mo ba so amafo sisa start kika kosa asem ne ade mo kra mo yiro ho ade a asi wa hanti enti omu se enya botre be endu 1 month na 2 weeks a ye be hu se bibi start wa ha na problem ni nyina solve ti enu do ba ye hu bi sign bebre se o nyami bo a bibia be ye.
So he's basically saying that yesterday they saw a whole lot of vehicles, like the other gentleman has said. They saw a whole lot of vehicles, V8 vehicles, and there were ministers and there were officials who came here. They saw people who looked like contractors who were, working around the bridge and making markings, etc., around the bridges, and they actually interacted with them. He said they told them that everybody is not happy about what happened, but they're looking to solve the problem. Within about 2 weeks and a month, they're looking to solve the problem and solve it once and for all. He also said that some of the residents were not happy. They made some very disparaging comments as well, but they were calmed some way, somehow, by the officials who came here yesterday. And today, so he's saying that the residents around here, they're happy about what's been done. At least they see that work is being done. Obviously, what happened was beyond everybody else's control, in his opinion, and he believes that work will be done. This is exactly where stairs are needed to make bridges like these useful for pedestrians. It's taken about 10 years, gone through about 4 presidents, and then the explosion of anger by residents after several lives had been lost. We're told that contractors have been here yesterday taking down some notes, but that is a day out of the 10 given by residents to government as ultimatum within which they want to see work being done on the bridge. For now, the brunt has been brought to bear on the NTTD officers here working on the street. It remains to be seen how soon the work will begin and how quickly it will be completed. Gifty Andopia, JoyNews, Adenta.
We're taking a break here on JoyNews Prime. Still ahead in the bulletin, Alfred Wilmers holds deepings as receiver of now defunct UT Bank, sues the businessman for over his outstanding debts and goes after properties the state is also pursuing in his bid to retrieve judgment debts wrongly paid him. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a bit. Receivers of UT Bank have filed a suit in court against businessman Alfred Woyome and others, demanding payment of a 9.6 million cedis loan plus interest. The suit comes even as the state is also pursuing the businessman's assets to use proceeds from that to defray judgment debt wrongly paid him. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me in the studio with more. Good evening to you, Joseph. Tell us more about this suit. What are the reliefs being sought by the receiver of UT Bank?
So, Vesha Shiagbo and Eric Nananipa of PricewaterhouseCoopers, who are the receivers for UT Bank Limited, they brought this action against Anato Quarry Company Limited, as well as another company, Anato Holding, Alfred Woyome, and Dr. Mike Kofiamedi of the 37 Military Hospital, who are both directors of these companies. And the details are that the companies in question owed UT Bank various sums of monies, and sometime in May 2014, following a meeting that had the third defendant, Alfred Woyome, present, a decision was taken that all the loans would be consolidated and then they would be paid on a monthly basis at a 5% interest rate, and that Mr. Woyome was using some of these structures as collateral when it comes to the repayment. And so the UT Bank officials are claiming that the terms were not followed to the letter, hence the decision to take the legal action now to recover the sum. So
there's an interesting twist to the story, because this same businessman is being pursued by the state for judgment debts wrongly paid him, which he's supposed to pay back to the state, and they've attached, or they're pursuing particular properties which the receiver now is also interested in.
So that has to do with one of the properties in Accra New Town, Pehe to be specific. And this is a house somewhere on the Crescent Street, we are told. And then another structure, which is actually the head office building of Anato Holding in East Legon area. Those are the two structures that were apparently also used as collateral when the loan was discussed in terms of how the repayment would be done. So they would want these taken over if the said 9.6 million is not paid as soon as possible.
All right, and indeed this has been a subject in court of a court suit, because the Attorney General has been going, back and forth with the receiver over these particular properties.
Using the same, processes as well to claim the 51 million CD judgment debt. And now officials of UT Bank, the defunct UT Bank, also are using the same property as the means to recover the amount in question.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. You're watching JoyNews Prime. We're taking a break.
Good evening to you and welcome to Business. The 2019 budget presentation may not come up with new taxes to close the revenue gap. This is what Joy Business has picked up from some sources associated with the next budget statement. But how is government going to deal with its rising expenditure if tax rates are not increased? We have more in this report.
The decision not to increase the tax is based on concerns by the various interest groups and business associations that the current tax system is impacting negatively on. Joy Business understands the proposals not to increase the taxes was based on draft documents presented to the finance minister for this consideration. This was after an extensive engagement with all the interested parties on these tax measures. However, it is not clear whether the situation may change after the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, engaged Cabinet on the proposed tax measures that will be outlined in the 2019 budget. We understand that government is looking at enforcing the various tax administrative measures and blocking the tax loopholes to deal with the revenue shortfalls. Joy Business is also learning that government is looking at reviewing the tax exemptions for the various businesses. It is believed that this would also help bring in additional revenue to the state. There are proposals to also review the fiscal measures and agreements covering the operations of various firms operating in the extractive sectors of the economy. Looking at past instances where things have changed, maybe we should not rule out any last-minute changes, but rather keep our fingers crossed. Meanwhile, Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah has told Joy Business that government is likely to propose 62 billion cedis as revenue target. We also understand that an expenditure target of 70 billion Ghana cedis could be proposed.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is predicting introduction of new taxes to deal with the ongoing financial crisis. The minority says this is as a result of the inability of government to implement strong economic policies to expand the growth of the financial sector, as was recorded by the previous government. Speaking at the pre-budget discussion, ranking member of the Committee on Finance, Cassia Atoforsen, projected that Ghanaians will record more job losses in 2019. Ebenezer Sabute has more.
The minority in Parliament is accusing the government of mismanaging the economy through over-expenditure in areas that do not yield positive results. According to them, the inability of government to pay contractors' debts can be partly blamed for recent happenings in the banking sector, which led to the consolidation of 5 commercial banks. Ranking member of the Finance Committee, Cassia Atoforsen, tells Joy Business available data to the committee indicates that there will be more hardships because government will introduce more taxes in the 2019 budget.
You can only finance it through taxation. And so our conclusion that the government cannot do without a measure, a tax measure. And we can confidently say that they are going to impose some taxes. And then you look at the areas that they can impose taxes, in the troubled areas. They may come out with a taxation that is going to look at what is happening vis-a-vis their programs and say that, yes, we should impose a tax to deal with some of our programs. Their expenditure, populist policies to deal with that. And then also they can look at the mess that they have created themselves on the financial sector and say that because of the mess, let's impose a tax. So we've done analysis and sat in the last month and been looking at economic data, reviewing it from the Ministry of Finance website and wherever. So we have to review those data, and that is our conclusion. Some of their own public utterances and coming out with century bonds and all of that. So we've reviewed a number of things and we've come out with our own economic prognosis, what we think the year will end up to, and the projections for 2019. We don't see any hope.
He rejects claims that the economy is suffering as a result of the IMF program.
Yes, the NDC went to the IMF. They had an option to have exited. They've extended it for 2 more years, and they extended it. I didn't extend it. I was in government. So they had an option. Why didn't they extend it if it's that bad? So please, they shouldn't go there. They know exactly what the fund program can do. Today they are jubilating that they are exiting the IMF program, obviously because they will get opportunity to do their lavish expenditure and to implement populist policies with no economic benefit to the ordinary Ghanaian. So they think that is good. But that is not what we are talking about.
The group is also projecting additional borrowing will balloon the public debt to 170 billion cedis by close of the year. Eben Sabute's report for Joy Business.
And in another development, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is seeking to increase its budgetary allocation for fertilizer supply in the upcoming budget. Deputy Minister George Udru has been speaking with Joy Business ahead of the presentation.
The 2017 budget on agriculture had a planting for food and jobs as a key agenda. Some extension officers were also catered for under the program same year. This led to an increase in farmers under the planting for food and jobs in 2018, then government announcement to purchase tractors and harvesters to support mechanized farming. Ahead of the 2019 budget, Deputy Minister for Agriculture George Udru is promising more support for the sector.
This year, we are trying to bring in handheld machines like tractors, which are small, and harvesters, which you can hold it and do your plant, harvest your product and plant it. Small machinery for the smallholder farmers, in addition to the tractors. That will be part of our budget. And then the fertilizer issue too, we are trying to double it up, because if we're able to exceed 500,000, definitely next year we need to move up. So I'm expecting that our budget for the fertilizer will go up.
He added that tractors and other farming equipment announced in the previous budget will be made available by January next year.
Now the government intends to set up AMSECs, that's agri machinery centers across the country. Every district will have maybe, some districts will have maybe 2 or 3 mechanization centers across the country. That's what it appeared last year. But don't forget, processing of LC, letters of credit, and then importation and blah, 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 takes quite a longer time. So this year, I'm sure by the end of this year, it will start coming. Or first, at least by January, all these machines that we budgeted for last year are coming. I know everything has been is already done. So they are on their way coming for us to establish the agricultural mechanization centers across the country.
Sheila Tamaklu for Joy Business.
And that's all by way of business tonight on Joy News Prime. My name is Emmanuel Obuaji. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Have a good evening.
And that'll be all for the bulletin. Unfortunately, we can't bring you the story about the mortuary workers who are threatening a strike on Tuesday. My name is Israeline. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.